welcome back to another session here at the Government Information Center. My name is Angela Situmbeko, and today's topic, we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship status in Namibia. And in studio today, we have Mr. Nafimana Shipanga, who is a chief economist and program manager at Empretech in the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade. In studio as well, we have Ms. Lisedi Serema, who's a student studying Bachelor of Entrepreneurship at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. But before we get into that, we welcome our Honorable Minister, Dr. Pea Mushelenga, who's going to give us a cabinet briefing dated for the 20th of September 2022. Over to you, Honorable.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, viewers and listeners. After a long time, because I've been giving the briefings telephonically or virtually. Now today I'm doing it live. I'm going to present decisions of the 19th decision-making meeting, or the 16th decision-making meeting of the cabinet that was held on the 20th of September 2022. First decision. Inaugural session of the Namibia-Jamaica Joint Committee held from the 2nd to the 3rd of August 2002 in Kingston, Jamaica. Cabinet took note of the outcome of the said session and directed the following ministries to expedite cooperation in areas of responsibility as reflected below. Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation. Initiate the political consultations to take place biennially, either in person or virtually, held on a date and venue to be mutually agreed upon. Initiate the second session of the Namibia-Jamaica Joint Committee at a time to be mutually agreed upon. Collaborate with Jamaica in shared experiences on diaspora policy formulation. Coordinate virtual meetings with the relevant stakeholders to follow up on potential areas of cooperation, urban development, mines and energy, port management and maritime, higher and basic education and health. Follow up with Jamaican counterpart on all the pending legal instruments that are on the Jamaican side to ensure finalization and signing. And liaise with the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture to consider supporting Jamaica's candidature to the United Nations Educational, Science and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, and the World Heritage Committee for the period 2023 to 2027. Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, implement the signed Memorandum of Understanding in the field of tourism, participate in the African Caribbean Tourism Summit, and consider the establishment of a global tourism resilience and crisis management center. Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, pursue virtual meetings with the Jamaican side to deliberate on cooperation in the field of urban development, and consider and inform the Walvis Bay municipality about the possible twinning of Walvis Bay and Montego Bay. Ministry of Mines and Energy, consider virtual meetings with Ministry of Housing, Urban and Renewal, Environment and Climate Change of Jamaica in order to exchange best practices with Namibia on mining of precious minerals and stones, and possible opportunities for cooperation in the renewable energy and air quality improvement. Ministry of Works and Transport, in collaboration with the Namibian Ports Authority and the Walvis Bay Corridor Group, to pursue virtual meetings with the Jamaican side in order to further explore the area of cooperation in ports management and maritime as both sides expressed interests. Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Forestry, consider a Memorandum of Understanding on cooperation in the field of agriculture with Jamaica proposed, expressing interest in agribusiness, livestock and research and development, innovation and technology in agriculture, climate resilient agriculture and seed production, value chain development, and Fisheries. Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources. Consider to benchmark the Blue Economy Strategy of Jamaica upon its finalization and consider dialogue and training possibilities between the Caribbean Maritime University and the Namibian Maritime and Fisheries Institute, NAMFI. Ministry of Justice. Pursue a pilot exchange program of legislative drafters exploring online modalities at first before building out the program, potentially entering into a memorandum of understanding. Ministry of Sports, Youth and National Service. Review the memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Sports, Youth and National Service and the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport of Jamaica, signed in 2018, which has since expired. Ministry of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation. Consider the possible signing of the draft Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation in the field of higher education and related fields in the margins of the Transforming Education Summit, September 2022, proposed by the Namibian side, and liaise with the Ministry of Health and Social Services and pursue virtual meetings with a Jamaican counterpart to explore the possibility for exchange training programs for graduates in the health sector to gain practical experience and exposure. Ministry of Health and Social Services. Liaise with the Ministry of Higher Education, Innovation and Technology to follow up with a group of Namibian students from Ukraine on the acquisition of academic transcripts from the universities in Ukraine, and liaise with the Ministry of Health and Social Services and consider virtual meetings with the University of West Indies, Kingston, Jamaica, on the possible intake of Namibian medical students into their medical school and to explore the possibility for exchange in the training programs for graduates in the health sector to gain practical experience and exposure. Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. Pursue virtual meetings in the Jamaican side to explore cultural institutional collaboration, exchange of expertise, cultural entrepreneurship, and participation in local festival. Follow up with the Jamaican side on the possibility of cultural collaboration in relation to Namibia's upcoming 33rd anniversary of independence, of which Jamaica expressed its intention to perform the song Namibia, composed by Jamaica, expressed its intention to perform the song Namibia, composed by Jamaican vocalist Kenneth Bother. Liaise with the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation to consider supporting Jamaica's candidature to the UNESCO World Heritage Committee for the 2023 to 2027. Ministry of Gender Equality, Poverty Eradication and Social Welfare. Explore opportunities with the Women's Center of Jamaica's Foundation. Second decision. So the first one was a marathon decision. Total allowable catch for hake for the 2022 to 2023 fishing season commencing on the 1st of November 2022 to the 30th of September 2023. Cabinet endorsed the Hague total allowable catch to be set at 154,000 metric tons for the 2022 to 2023 fishing season. Third decision, total allowable catch for rock lobster for the 2022 to 2023 fishing season commencing on 1st November 2022 to 30th April 2023. Cabinet endorsed the rock lobster allowable catch to be set at 180 metric tons for the 2022 to 2023 fishing season. Fourth decision. Ninth meeting of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Council of Ministers responsible for trade, held from the 25th to the 26th July 2022 in Accra, Ghana. Cabinet took note of the outcomes of the above-mentioned meeting and the ministerial decision adopted by member states. Cabinet took note that Namibia, within the configuration of the Southern Africa Customs Union, finalized the tariffs offers before August 22 to be ready for the meeting of the African Continental Free Trade Area heads of state and government scheduled for September 2022. Cabinet approved for Namibia to continue participating at the African Continental Free Trade Area senior officials meeting in order to influence the review mechanism for sugar, such as production capacity and availability of sugar at the right quantity and at the competitive price on the African continent before any movement is considered to a stringent rule of origin. Cabinet directed the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade to consult nationally on the current status of the special economic zones and formulate a country's position. Launch the African Continental Free Trade Area National Implementation Strategy and Action Plan by September 2022 in order to prepare and take full advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area markets once commercially meaningful trade commences, albeit challenged by SACU member states to agree and or finalize its tariff, and circulate the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Draft Rules of Origin Manual that has been adopted by the Council of Ministers to the Ministries of International Relations and Cooperation and Finance and the Namibia Revenue Agency, NAMRA, to facilitate training for customs officials on the application of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Rules of Origin. Fifth decision, 2019 to 2020 and 2020 to 2021 annual reports of the Public Service Commission. Cabinet took note of the above-mentioned annual reports and authorized the Prime Minister to table their reports in the National Assembly, and Cabinet directed officers, ministries, and agencies to further study the annual report and address the concerns and recommendations therein. 2021 Annual Report of the Public Accounts and Auditors Board. Cabinet took note of the Public Accounts and Auditors Board annual report and authorized the Minister of Finance and Acting Minister of Public Enterprises to table the said report in the National Assembly. 2020 to 2021 Annual Report and Financial Statements of the Namibia Wildlife Resort. Cabinet took note of the annual report and financial statements of the Namibia Wildlife Resort and authorized the Minister of Finance and Acting Minister of Public Enterprises to table the aforementioned report in the National Assembly. 2020 to 2021 Annual Report and Financial Statements of the Namibia Desert Diamonds, NAMDIA. Cabinet took note of the annual report and financial statements of the Namibia Desert Diamonds and authorized the Minister of Finance and Acting Minister of Public Enterprise to table the said report in the National Assembly. Here ends Cabinet briefings, and I thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us in studio, Honorable. So getting back to the topic at hand, we are discussing entrepreneurship status in Namibia. And once again, my panelists for today are Mr. Nafimana Shipanga, as well as Ms. Lisedi Serema. So getting right into it, question, how does entrepreneurship help in job creation? And how is it used as a tool for economic growth? If you could kindly tell us that, Mr. Shipanga.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Entrepreneurship in general is the backbone of every country's economy. And this is because entrepreneurs have a room for movement. I'll give an example. Larger enterprises invest too much in infrastructures, and they are unable to adjust easily according to economic factors. But entrepreneurs are able to follow the trend of the economy as it goes because their investment in infrastructures is limited and they are able to move resources here and there if they have. Now, when an entrepreneur is well positioned and they are able to increase their revenues and grow their business activities, it means they need extra hands. And that's when employment creation comes in because as they try to tap here and there, they need assistance, they hire others to assist them. By that, they are in fact distributing the income across the
Yes, that's very
country.
true. Ms. Arama, any additions to that?
Yes, I'd like to add on to what Mr. Shipanga said. Outside of job creation and economic growth, I think it's admirable how entrepreneurs are able to change a once deserted location into a money-making powerhouse. And that not only influences change in the community, but it adds new innovation, and I think that's admirable.
Now, okay, key word being innovation in this case.
Yes.
So communities reap the benefit of entrepreneurship because businesses help to foster innovation, promote economic development, and create jobs. A successful company is likely to expand, which generates taxes, jobs, and other benefits for the area. So what is a classic example of a business venture in Namibia, for example, that is fully Namibian owned, that has brought major changes like infrastructure in a particular region, and taken responsibility to mentor young innovators in the same sector? Mr. Shpanga?
There are so many entrepreneurs in the country. And I remember back in the days when I was still a young boy in the village, I used to listen to the radio, hearing Mr. Benawanga talking about cars and car parts. And then when you go back and come back at where we are currently, BH is one of the biggest enterprises in the country. And when you go to Ongwediva, there is Benny's Entertainment Park, one of the locally owned infrastructures that are actually the best accommodation in the north. And not only him, we can talk about a lot of them. Dr. Shapumba, Chico, group of companies. We can talk about Kamwa Trading. Those are all locals who have started their enterprises and they're going somewhere. But now, somebody might say, why are you talking about big guys? We are talking about today as youths. But again, we understand that's a different era. But even in the current era, there are a lot of entrepreneurs that I can, if I had the whole day to mention one by one, but maybe I can tell you one that I can think of is Mr. Matti David for Joram Engineering in Oshakati. He's a young man in Oshakati who is busy manufacturing agricultural equipment that are able to be sold across the country. And those are a lot of other examples that I can use. So it's maybe not really in terms of the infrastructures because of the youth, because it requires a lot of resources accumulation before you can move into infrastructure, because first you need to create a foundation for your business to fall on. But when you understand where they are coming from and look at what they are doing in the current space, then you would then be able to say, yes, opportunities are there. All you need is to be focused and have dedication.
Okay, so you mentioned that even though they haven't reached the level of building infrastructures to change their areas, they have brought opportunities to the youth within their area by creating jobs and probably inspiring other youth to also start the same businesses.
Yes, of course, because you can't start up. You have to start from the ground and then move your way up. And if you advise people to start with the infrastructures, what if another corona comes while you have invested in the infrastructure? So you have to have a plan on how do you grow slowly and gradually.
So this is actually quite a good tip for entrepreneurs, that always start small, make sure you're not fixed in one area. That gives you space to maneuver, basically.
Yes, one of my, I will say my mentor, Uncle Sava from Mavis Bay, always tell people that the best way is to start small, learn as you grow. Don't focus on growing, focus on learning, then growth will come automatically. And that's my advice to the entrepreneurs out there.
Okay, well noted. Ms. Sarama, since we've already heard about the bigger companies, do you know or are aware of any, even if they're smaller entrepreneurs that have started businesses with it selling, that you could also share about?
I was actually even going to add on to one of his large companies. I know of Althaver and List Group, which is a group of companies with a portfolio that spans from Hartleaf to Namibia breweries, and they have employed more than 6,000 employees, and the revenues contribute to about 4% of the country's GDP. And the way that they have found a way to help the people around them is by introducing, in 2020, they introduced a emerging talent program, which is where they take new graduates who haven't had a lot of job experience. They take them and they nurture their talents so that they can prepare them for the outside world and like working. So, yeah.
Okay, that is quite formidable. Going back to you, Mr. Shipanga, whilst on the topic of economic growth, does MIT ensure that businesses registered under them are committed to paying tax, and what profit level do they start?
Paying of taxes is a mandate for the Ministry of Finance under NAMRA. However, as a ministry responsible for enterprise development, our responsibility there is to complement the Ministry of Finance efforts through our educational activities. For example, currently when we do our entrepreneurship training workshops, we try to educate the entrepreneurs on what is the benefit of being registered as a taxpayer, and also how does it benefit you indirectly, as the money that you pay to government is responsible for other social activities, which in turn will even come back to you, because the public which is getting support from government to be able to have something to spend are actually your customers. And it's like you are moving your money around to come back to you when the time is right. So we have a responsibility, and we need to assist NAMRA on educating the entrepreneurs that it's good to be registered as a taxpayer.
Okay, very well noted. And going to Ms. Serema, how has studying entrepreneurship given you confidence in developing a business model someday?
I actually got the chance in my last semester to create, we were given a project where we had to come up with a business idea, and my classmates decided on selling still water that has been purified through a process known as reverse osmosis. And we marketed it as the best water in NAST, which it definitely is. We sold refills where you could come with your own water bottle and we would fill it up at a cost. We also sold branded water bottles, 750 ml, and it was extremely successful. It taught me a lot about working with people. I know now that two things can be true, because working in a group was both manageable, made the job more manageable, but it also was very strenuous. But yes, studying entrepreneurship has given me the confidence in a lot of ways to create a business model one day. Even something as small as doing a presentation in class in front of my classmates, I feel like contributes a lot to me one day in the future presenting a business model to future investors.
Okay, well noted. Well, I can say you are very comfortable today, so we can see that your skills are paying off, so do continue that. And coming back to Mr. Shipanga, from your analysis within your ministry, what businesses has survived post-COVID, and what could this resilience be attributed to?
I think the most one that I can think of as number one is those that are linked to information technology. And I think it's because during COVID, when there were a lot of national lockdowns, everybody was trying to get a service while they are still home. And that's how the businesses that are in the IT sector were able to strive, because no matter the lockdown, the restrictions, they were still able to do this and that. And in fact, it taught us a lot as entrepreneurs that there are actually a few things that you don't need to be there to do them. We are able to sell now while you're at home, and it's because of IT, and that is the first one that really did well regardless of the COVID-19. The other one, I think, is agriculture. And I think it's because people have to eat. And as it being the backbone of Africa, we are also hearing that no matter the situation, the lockdowns, people still need to eat. And there were those services were supposed to be going regardless of the restrictions. And those that were involved in medicines and food will always be able to be allowed to. So then the third one, obviously, medicine, because everybody knew the importance of boosters and also other flu medications. That means those that are in that space were able to make more money rather than the rest, because everybody else was just focusing on how do I keep my immune system strong. And those ones really made a lot of revenues during the COVID situation.
Yes, it is quite true. We can say that during the COVID era, it brought up a lot of entrepreneurial spirit within people, because now you found yourself at home and you had to find something to do and generate extra income. So that is quite correct. So I would like to remind our viewers that as this is an interactive session, we would like you to go onto our Facebook site, namely Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia, and on our YouTube site, MICT Namibia, to leave any comments or questions that you might have for us. You can call us as well on 061 400 397. I repeat, 061 400 397. So you can call us live in studio if you'd like to interact with our panelists, or should you have any queries or questions for us in studio today. So jumping right back, Mr. Rema, what are the most common business opportunities that thrive in Namibia and why?
I find a lot, same as how Mr. Shipanga mentioned, Namibians love food. I see how a lot of food stalls are thriving, more especially Kapana. You guys are prideful about the type of food that you have, and you very much portray it in the way, as soon as you walk outside, you see people selling all types of food, and I think that's really admirable. Yeah.
Mr. Shipanga, could you kindly add to that?
Yeah, maybe just to add on what you have said is that from where I am right now, it doesn't really matter what type of industry or business activity you're involved yourself in. What matters is your individual mindset and what do you do as a human being, as an entrepreneur. Because there was a research which was done by United Nations, and that's where the MBTech program is coming from, that the difference between success and a failure have nothing to do with what you have, but it have everything to do with what you do on a daily basis. So this was based on a research which was done by a professor in psychology from Harvard University, which revealed that successful entrepreneurs all over the world, regardless of their economic or cultural background, they share similar competencies and they behave in a certain way. While the rest of us, no matter what kind of government or private sector interventions you receive, you will always be the same. They lack those competencies and they behave in a different way. So now, as I said, where the MBTech program is coming from, the program was then designed to instill the competencies and the behaviors that are associated with successful entrepreneurship into the rest of us. So, and that answers the question, are entrepreneurs born or made? So the answer is yes, entrepreneurs are born, because there are those with those competencies naturally, and yes, entrepreneurs can be made, because once you understand the competencies and they copy them and instill them into others and they make it a habit, they will become successful as well, and that's why we say yes, entrepreneurs can be made.
And born. So what is your stance when talking about entrepreneurship? Isn't it also important for a person to design or research on the market that they would like to go in, to find out whether is the market overpopulated? Because doesn't that also play a role in whether your business is going to be successful or not?
Yes, you are right. Like I said, there are 10 competencies And one of the competencies is information seeking. That means that successful entrepreneurs always seek information. And under the competencies of information seeking, there are 3 behaviors. One is doing personal research. And that's how you're able to know that this is an industry I can invest my little resources into, or this I will be wasting my time because in the next few weeks something else will come up and I could have wasted my time and resources.
Okay, that is a very good point.
I wanted to, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to add on what he was saying, because you mentioned that people going
If you could hold that thought.
Okay,
We do have a caller on the line.
Okay.
Penda from Enana, welcome. Penda? Hello, Penda, can you hear us? Okay, if you can hear us, kindly do call back. I think we have lost that call. So, Ms. Serema, if you could kindly continue your thought process.
Yes, we were mentioning that when people go into a specific market, even if it's flooded with a lot of people, should they still go into it after doing that research? And I feel like, yes, they should, because the thing that gives you a lot of customers is your unique selling point. So it's important to sell your product the best way you can. So you have to kind of, in the way that he says entrepreneurs are born, you have to be an outlier. It has to be innate, the nature that you go into. So yeah, you should definitely, even if a lot of people sell bread and you would like to sell bread, definitely try in the way that you see best fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how does innovation now come into this?
It comes in the sense of showing a different dynamic. I think innovation, the definition, just like the loose definition, is newness, it's uniqueness, and going into a flooded market, you do exhibit a lot of uniqueness. So, yeah.
Okay, very well noted. I hope people are picking up all these little tidbits of information. So coming back to Mr. Shipanga, how is the government or your ministry supporting entrepreneurs post-COVID? If there are any packages tailor-made to this?
Yes, in fact, immediately after COVID or during COVID, government, through the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, in collaboration with other stakeholders, private and donor companies, really did a lot to assist entrepreneurs. And if my memory serves me well, I think there was an expenditure of about, or even more than 23 million, which was given towards entrepreneurs. There was one on COVID recovery grant and so on, which was specifically to assist the entrepreneurs deal with the COVID situation. Maybe the only challenge I would mention here is that COVID came immediately after a very strong fiscal consolidation, which have nothing to do with government. It was because of the commodity price drops during the 2015-2016 financial year. And as you know, Namibia is a commodity-based economy. Our much revenue comes from commodity prices. And when we know commodity selling, revenue for government dropped, and we have seen a lot of budget cuts. And that's why after COVID, there was very much little that could be done to assist the entrepreneurs. But here we are, we have the Entrepreneurship program, which is focusing on behavior modification and the mindset change. And the best thing about the Entrepreneurship program is that it's not specific sector focused. It's entrepreneurship in general. And that is what the ministry is having now to assist the entrepreneurs deal with the shock of COVID-19.
I find that to be a very good project, as awareness is always a good thing to have, because sometimes a person might have a very great idea but might not be aware of their potential to achieve it. So when you are taught these skills, or you're taught on what ways to push, it does help in ensuring success of the different entrepreneur businesses, for example. So coming to Mr. Rema, have you developed a business idea, and what was it and how successful was it? I remember you touched on the water project at school, but have you done something independently?
Yes, outside of the water project, I do have an idea which is in the conceptual phase, so I don't want to say a lot, put a lot out there, but I have something in the realm of marketing, in the realm of media, a place where creators can come and showcase their work, a place for creators by creators, and put in kind of was kind of a big deal, a big part of me creating that idea, because there's a lot of theoretical concepts that I learn in a classroom setting that I implement in practical day-to-day life. One in particular that I can remember right now is one I learned in marketing. It's known as IDA, and it stands for awareness, interest, desire, and action. So when marketing your product, you need your potential customer to be aware of the product. They need to be interested in purchasing the product. They need to desire seeing themselves with the product. And then action, finally, purchasing the product. And I see how in activities like applying for a job or going for a job interview, my potential employer needs to be aware of me. They need to be interested in my educational background and how I can manage tasks on the job. They need to desire seeing me in the organization. And then finally, action, they need to employ me. And that's one of the many ways entrepreneurship has influenced my frame of thinking.
Yeah. And what tips would you give fellow entrepreneurs or people who are just looking to start new businesses as how to now switch it from theory into implementation in your day-to-day life? Because sometimes that's where the disconnect happens, where you have this information, but when it comes to implementation, you're not really successful.
I believe I as well had a challenge with that maybe in my first year of school, but what I would say is it's important to show your hand wherever you can. Wherever, even something as small, like I mentioned, as a school presentation, treat it like you're going to work. Like dress nice, smell nice, look your best in every moment that you can, because in as much as you're going to market a product, you're also marketing yourself. So that's really important. I would say, even though you're studying theoretical work, make it a point to practice it in one way or another. Don't just cram it and like read it and then put it on paper and during an exam and then let it go. Find a way to keep it going in everyday lives.
And eventually it will become the norm and natural to you.
It'll be like second nature to you.
Now, that's a very good point. As an entrepreneur, you yourself are the brand as well.
Yes.
So when you engage in business or when you have to present yourself, make sure you appear as your best. So sticking with you, Ms. Sirema, regarding the business that you say that you have in mind, have you registered it yet? Have you gotten funding for it, or are you still further pursuing it?
I actually would love to seek funding and register it, but unfortunately haven't gotten the opportunity to do so. A large part of that is because I'm an international student.
Yeah.
And I definitely do as well consider myself a global citizen. So I have a lot of options, I would say, at my disposal, but it's a matter of, for now, finishing my education and then seeing what the next step is.
Okay, well noted. Mr. Shipanga, if you could kindly come in. If Ms. Sirema wanted to register her business, what routes would you encourage the entrepreneurs out there to take?
In fact, when she said she is thinking of getting funds to register, then I looked at her that, why do you need funds to register? Because the registration costs how much? Probably not more than 200. That's enough if you do it yourself. Of course, there are those that are doing business. I will come to you as a consultant to help you register your company, but then you have to pay for my time and everything. But if you are a student, you have spare time, you go to BIPA and just get the information and do the registration. However, from the enterprise development point of view, we advise people that you don't need to wait to register. Start and test the water, because that's how you realize that your idea will work or not. Because we have seen a lot of people who have registered companies only to realize that I can't do that. And you have already wasted your resources, companies registered, and you are not doing anything. So we advise entrepreneurs that you don't need to wait to have money. If you think there is a solution that you can offer for a fee, start. Go to your neighbor and ask, if I bring this at this amount, how much will you be able to pay? Then you already start to picture that, okay, this can work. Then when you realize that the customers are increasing, then you say, okay, this is a business concept that I can really apply. Let me go ahead and register. Then you register.
Okay, very well noted. Sticking with you, Mr. Shipanga, overall, what assistance, materials, exposure, or financial is given to startups or fully fledged SMEs?
If I take you back some years back, between 2009 and 2016-2017 financial year, the Ministry of Industrialization spent about 670 million in equipment aid, where we used to provide free equipment to entrepreneurs. And the same ministry spent about 60 million in business plans and feasibility studies. That was all for free. But now, when you ask me today, where are those entrepreneurs? Because now when I talk about 670 million, there should be something out there for us to show. And I would say quite a few that we can point out. And that is where we had to go back and sit to ask ourselves, what are we doing? There have always been debates around this concept. Some are saying, no, you were not doing monitoring and evaluation, that's why it failed, which might be true. But I don't agree with that sentiment, because when you are saying people failed because there was no monitoring and evaluation, it's like you are saying the responsibility now lies with the funder, but not the individual entrepreneurs. And what's going to happen 10 years later when they are at the scale where they are supposed to go for larger funding from financial institutions to grow beyond our borders? Will the banks be responsible to monitor them, or will it be their responsibility? And that is where the MBTech program comes in, because it's about self-responsibility. And that is what we are focusing on now. I'm trying to bring this background because I want you to understand where we are coming from and where we are as we speak. That's why now, with the limited financial resources, we are now focusing on educating the entrepreneurs. Because when you have gone through this program, you might even realize that, in fact, I don't need support now. What I need is to prepare myself for a bigger support, which will then come when I really need it. So maybe just to clarify my statement is that there is a say that when you give a man a fish, you have fed the family for the night. But when you teach the man how to fish, you feed a generation. What we have done in the past was to give families fishing equipment without teaching them how to fish, where to fish, and even how to swim. As a result, all those equipments fell in the water and people died. So now we are focusing on teaching the entrepreneurs where to fish, how to swim before. Then if the financial resources improves, we should then be able to say, okay, those that knows how to swim, they have demonstrated how they were able to move on their own. Now we can push them a little bit up for them to grow this economy.
That is quite wise. So once again, I would like to remind our viewers that you can leave your comments and queries at any one of our social media sites, namely on Facebook, it's the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology - Republic of Namibia, as well as on YouTube at MICT - Namibia. Or you can still call in at the number 061 400 397. Once again, the number is 061 400 397. So we would like to get any comments or questions that you might still have. And coming back to you, Mr. Shipanga, is there any entrepreneurial hub that sees to it that entrepreneurs develop marketable innovations and are equipped with proper skills to distribute and sell them, as you've touched on the Empretech? So where can people, how can people get this assistance or these teachings or this awareness?
Like I have said in the beginning, that there are a lot of private sector and government collaborations. We have Startup Namibia that are really focusing on nurturing entrepreneurs in terms of giving them opportunities to assist them with ideation toward the development of the product and even toward the marketing. That's one. We also have the Business Innovation Center with NAST. That is also responsible to assist the entrepreneurs. Now, I am bringing up the private sector collaboration because as we stand now, we came to realize that government alone can only do much. But when private sector and government and other international donors put resources together, it becomes more easier and the impact can then be felt out today. So those are just some of the things that I can mention now that are assisting entrepreneurs to. But then you said assisting entrepreneurs. Then I will always turn the question around, or are the entrepreneurs seeking for this opportunity? And I'm taking you back to the Tech Committees of Information Seeking. The information is out there, but as entrepreneurs, are we doing enough to seek that information?
Well, one could say sometimes if you don't know what you're looking for, how will you know what to find? And that's why these platforms are very important, because now you're creating awareness. Somebody who might not have known about that now know that I can go to this program and acquire those skills. And still sticking with you, how are the individuals that have innovative ideas identified and nurtured in Namibia?
Again, it's the same.
It still goes
issue
back to
that I'm
Empatech.
having. Are they, who is there to identify them? That's the question you are asking. Then, which is right, there must be somebody to look out for people who are doing something. But our way is entrepreneurs also trying to bring ourselves out for the people who need to assist to see us. Because the reality of the matter is that in the situation we are in, whether back or now, there will always be limited resources. And with limited resources, opportunities to assist everyone becomes limited. Now the question is, who will get the assistance? Do we wait as entrepreneurs for somebody to come to us and say, there is this happening, please go out and look for it? Or should it be me as an entrepreneur to say, in this space, where do I go for the people to see that this is what I'm doing? So I might be trying to avoid answering your question directly, because from where we are trying to place the responsibility on the entrepreneurs as the backbone of the Tech program, so that they don't wait for somebody to come, because somebody might never come. And what if nobody comes? Then you should be able to go out and make sure that people knows what you are doing. So there are platforms where, if you look on social medias, for example, there was a seed from Old Mutual just a few weeks back in Oshakati, Ketmasobe in Oshakati, whereby entrepreneurs were invited to apply, they showcased their ideas, there was a pitching, and the lucky ones get support. But some were saying we did not hear about it because it was on the platforms, social platforms. But if you look at us as entrepreneurs, majority of us have smartphones, and we always have data. But we don't really use that data to seek information which is beneficial to us. So that's why now as the Tech Center, we try to focus on educating the entrepreneurs that when you use your data, yes, have fun, look at the Instagram pictures and smile and so on, but take time just to seek who is out there looking for this kind of entrepreneurs. Maybe I will be one of them. Then you might be lucky, and then you get that opportunity.
Okay, I guess that, okay, you can add on, Mr. Rama.
Yeah, I wanted to add that, like you said earlier, this is why discussions like this are really important, because we're here talking about opportunities that entrepreneurs can take. And this is on a public platform, it's on the radio, on TV, and it's also on social media. So speaking about things like this, it's important to accommodate every person. I don't think everyone has social media, not everyone has a smartphone, unfortunately. It's the reality we live in. But doing it on public platforms like this is really important.
Well noted.
I think she's right. To say not everybody have that access to the technology. But then my message to the entrepreneurs is that make time and disturb those offices. Knock on their doors. Find somebody who have a smartphone and just say, can you please just check this for me? Because the point, and I'm going back to the Tech program, is self-responsibility that says that successful entrepreneurs or human being in nature have what is called the internal locus of control. That means they look at themselves and say, what can I do? Before even they consider of who is out there to assist them. So when you knock on the doors, make sure you have something to show. That's why my focus is on starting small and come to whoever is able to look at what you are doing and say, look, I've been busy with this. Where can I go to get this in order for this to grow? So that will be my advice to the entrepreneurs.
I think it does also go back to what Mr. Rama mentioned about how important marketing yourself as an entrepreneur is. Like when you ask, like, how would you be able to identify these people that need nurturing? I believe if you are out there, you market your partner or partner with you, and thus your business can flourish. So I think that's a very important aspect to mention again, marketing yourself. So given the evolving customer demands, societal shifts, and new technologies that have paved the way for local independent companies, closely knit global teams and their disruptive industries, how has this affected the Namibian business landscapes?
I think that really how to cut costs in terms of business, because we realized that there were some entrepreneurs who were wasting money on infrastructures that they didn't need, just because of the lack of awareness that I can do this in the comfort of my home or just at a certain establishment having water and get free access from their Wi-Fi networks and just do business. So as a result of Corona, it might, as bad as it is, it taught us a lot that you can do business with somebody far away from you without even you traveling there, and then you reduce the cost. So,
okay, well noted. Mr. Rama, did you pick up anything or any tips during the COVID era as to how you would change your business model, for example?
If COVID taught me anything, it definitely taught me to show up and without fear, because life is short. We all know life is short, and there's no point in sitting on opportunities, sitting on your hands, and knowing you're good at something but not doing it fully. So definitely, I urge everyone out there to don't sit on a skill that you have and you're aware that you have. Go out there and test the waters, like Mr. Shipanga said. Knock on every door, show up as an entrepreneur every day, and people will definitely recognize you.
Okay, well noted. I would also like to say, the COVID era, it's weird how all of a sudden things that we're doing outside of our homes, like you mentioned, all of a sudden ended up being online. And for some reason, it has continued like that. Have you noticed that trend?
Yeah.
and also if you have noticed, after COVID, the number of entrepreneurship activities, especially when you check social network, medias, you realize that it have picked up. Because when people were trying to seek services that they are unable to get, they were able to use the social platforms. And in the same way, they taught themselves that, okay, if I was able to get this, it means also I can also get it and sell it to others. That's why when you check on the social platforms, almost everybody is selling this and that. And that was, for my opinion, a lesson coming from the COVID impact. Because at entrepreneurship, we say, you find the problem and try to provide a solution. That is what the definition of entrepreneurship is.
No, that is very true. I have also noticed that trend that everybody has literally gone online, and it really does cut costs. You do business at the comfort of your own home. You don't have to pay anybody. The resources that you use is your own phone. So it is quite good for the business landscape, I would say.
And it's made it easy for people to, I feel like, get information. People are more aware now that everything is at their disposal. And it's in a box in their hands. Everything they need to know, anything, anywhere they need to go, anyone they need to contact, it's in a small box in your hand. So it definitely made it a lot easier for entrepreneurs.
Okay. So I do hope that people did pick up a lot of information in today's session. Any final words for the viewers? Can start with you, Mr. Shipanka.
Yes, maybe just to tell the nation that the Ambitious program is now officially opened in the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade. We started in 2019, where we have trained 96 entrepreneurs. and we have trained 40 informal entrepreneurs, and we have provided business advisory services to 35 entrepreneurs, and we have assisted to develop, I think, about 7 business plans. But then the problem was, immediately after the program was launched, then COVID came.
Okay.
And we saw a lot of restrictions, budget reallocations, and that's why we have been quiet. But now at least we understand that COVID is a bit gone, I should say a bit. And again, like I said, we have learned to seek collaboration from private sector. And currently we have a lot of support which is coming in from private sector, and donors who should then be able to assist us to implement the entrepreneurship program. What I can say maybe as the last word is that the EmbriTech is the game changer, because it teaches you how to identify a competency within yourself and what behaviors are associated with that competency. Start practicing it until it becomes a habit, because the researcher also found out that success is never by chance. It's by habit. So
okay.
that's
Well
the
noted. Mr. Emma, any final quick remarks?
I just want to continue stressing the fact that showing up as an entrepreneur every day will reap entrepreneurial results. Even outside of entrepreneurship, I feel like whatever field you're in as a student, show up as that person that you want to be every single day. And in my own life, I see how with the water project that I did at school, being forceful and making ourselves known throughout the campus got us to be noticed by a number of companies, more especially Namibia Media Holdings. They featured us on a TV interview as well as on the Namibian newspaper. So that's one of the many ways that showing up as yourself, showing up as the person that you want to become has reaped amazing results.
Very wise words from our panelists today. I would like to thank you for joining us. So from me, Angela Situmbeko here at the Government Information Center, and the production crew, we wish you a good day ahead.